If you look carefully at older houses in your neighborhood, you might notice a small metal door set into brick, low on the wall near the kitchen. Most people walk past it without thinking twice. It used to open every morning before you woke up. Someone came to the house before sunrise. They didn't knock. They didn't ring the bell. They opened that door, left something cold inside, and closed it again. Then one day they stopped coming. The hatch stayed shut. The bottles never returned. And one of the most ordinary features of mid-century American homes quietly became useless. What happened to the milk chute, and why did millions of houses build something that vanished so completely? To understand it, you have to go back to a time before refrigeration was universal and before supermarkets stretched across acres of parking lot. The milk didn't wait in a brightly lit aisle. It arrived quietly. The route began in the dark, sometime between 4 and 6 in the morning, and while most houses were still asleep, the milk truck moved slowly through the neighborhood. Wooden crates in the back held rows of thick glass bottles packed tightly together. When the truck stopped, you could hear the faint clink of glass against glass as the driver lifted a crate down onto the pavement. He walked up the path with practiced efficiency. No knocking, no waiting. The milk chute made that unnecessary. The outer door, usually metal and hinged at the side or top, and sometimes carried the dairy's name stamped across it. When he opened it, the insulated compartment inside was cool and still. The empty bottles from the previous delivery were already waiting. He removed them first, placing them carefully back into the crate. Then he slid the full bottles into place. Whole milk, cream, maybe buttermilk. The glass was thick enough to survive constant reuse. Each bottle sealed with a round cardboard cap pressed firmly into the neck. Inside, the chute opened into a small cabinet built into the kitchen wall. Later that morning, the bottles would be waiting upright, condensation forming along the sides, cream settled at the top. No doorbell, just a quiet exchange through the wall, repeated day after day. The milk chute wasn't only about efficiency. It reflected a particular kind of trust. You were, in effect, building a small opening into your home and expecting a stranger to use it responsibly before dawn. And the driver didn't enter the house, but he crossed its boundary. He handled what your family would consume that day, and he did it without supervision. In many neighborhoods, that trust wasn't abstract. The milkman was known. Routes rarely changed. The same driver passed the same houses each morning, year after year. He learned which families needed extra milk when school was in session. He noticed when a new baby meant an added bottle of cream. And if a house suddenly left no empties behind for several days, it didn't go unnoticed. Communication was simple. A handwritten note placed inside the chute. Vacation next week or 2 extra quarts on Friday was enough. There was no customer service number to call, no automated system. Just a short message and the expectation it would be read. Children sometimes waited by the window to watch the truck pull away, and the sound of its engine idling briefly on the curb became part of the morning routine. In winter, the bottles might sit in a faint halo of cold air inside the compartment. In summer, retrieving them was one of the first tasks of the day. The milk route connected the household to a local dairy and the dairy to a network of drivers, bottlers, and plant workers. It was visible, physical, and personal. The chute was simply the point where that relationship touched the wall of the house. Yet by the middle of the 20th century, home milk delivery was not a niche service. It was a national system. In the early 1950s, more than half of all milk sold in the United States was still delivered directly to homes. In large cities, entire neighborhoods were mapped into tightly organized routes. In smaller towns, the dairy might serve nearly every home within a few miles of the plant. Trucks left before sunrise and returned empty by late morning, their cargo exchanged bottle for bottle. And the infrastructure behind those routes was substantial. Regional dairies employed drivers, bottling line workers, mechanics, route managers, and sanitation crews. Glass bottles moved through a constant cycle of collection, sterilization, refilling, and redistribution. Delivery schedules were timed to the day. Some households received milk daily, others every other day. The system ran with industrial precision, even if it felt personal at the doorstep. From the early 1900s through the post-war years, milk chutes were standard in new construction, particularly in urban and close-in suburban neighborhoods. They were built into the wall the same way a kitchen cabinet or an electrical outlet was, an assumed feature of a functioning home. The milk chute assumed the delivery network was permanent. It was designed for continuity, an architectural feature built around the expectation that someone would be stopping by every morning indefinitely. And the milk chute did not disappear because people stopped drinking milk. It disappeared because the system that supported it became less efficient than the one replacing it. The first shift was refrigeration. By 1955, more than 80% of American households owned electric refrigerators. What had once required frequent delivery could now be stored safely for days. Families no longer needed milk brought to the house every morning to keep it fresh. The urgency diminished. At the same time, supermarkets expanded rapidly in the post-war years. Self-service grocery stores offered lower prices through centralized distribution and higher volume. Instead of separate deliveries for milk, bread, and produce, families could purchase everything in a single weekly trip. Convenience shifted from the doorstep to the parking lot. The economics were difficult to ignore. Milk routes scaled poorly. As cities grew outward into new suburban developments, distances between homes increased. A driver who once covered a compact urban grid now traveled longer stretches of road between stops. Fuel costs rose. Labor hours increased. Each additional mile cut into already narrow margins. The milkman wasn't inefficient. He was expensive. A delivery model built around daily service required a growing workforce as neighborhoods expanded. A supermarket required fewer workers per gallon sold. Central refrigeration replaced insulated wall compartments, and bulk purchasing replaced morning repetition. None of this happened all at once, but by the mid-1950s the balance had shifted. The milk route was no longer the most economical way to move milk from dairy to household, and once the economics changed, the architecture built around it began to lose its reason for being. If refrigeration and supermarkets weakened the milk route, packaging helped finish the job. For decades, the system had depended on glass, thick, heavy, reusable bottles designed to survive constant circulation. They were collected, washed at high temperatures, inspected, refilled, and sent back out again. It required equipment, labor, and time. The circular model worked when deliveries were frequent and routes were dense. Paperboard cartons had been growing in use since the 1930s, and by the post-war years they were standard in grocery stores, lighter, disposable, and requiring no return system. There was nothing to collect, nothing to wash, and the loop the glass bottle depended on simply had no place in the new model. The shift simplified distribution dramatically. Dairies supplying supermarkets could package milk once and send it out in bulk. The responsibility for storage shifted entirely to the consumer's refrigerator. The ritual of rinsing and returning bottles disappeared, and the milk chute, built to cradle sturdy glass containers exchanged daily, no longer fit the system. It had been designed for a loop. The carton belonged to a line. Once packaging changed, the physical exchange through the wall felt out of step with the new model of consumption. The compartment remained, but the logic behind it had thinned. There was no national announcement that milk delivery was ending. No single year when the trucks stopped everywhere at once. But after 1955, the decline accelerated. As refrigerator ownership passed the majority threshold and supermarket chains expanded into suburban corridors, independent dairies began to consolidate. Some were purchased by larger regional companies. Others closed outright. Routes that had once supported a single driver full-time were reduced, merged, or eliminated. In dense urban neighborhoods, delivery held on longer. Apartment buildings and closely spaced row houses still made routes efficient, but in newer subdivisions with winding streets and wider lots, the arithmetic became harder to justify. A driver could spend more time behind the wheel than at the chute. Many drivers retired and were not replaced. Younger workers found steadier hours in grocery distribution centers or other industries. Over time, the early morning presence that had defined the route system simply thinned out. In some towns, delivery survived into the late 1960s and even the 1970s. In others, it had largely disappeared by the early 1960s. The pattern varied regionally, but the direction was consistent, and the outer hatch opened less frequently. Then it stopped opening at all. What had once been a daily exchange became occasional, then unnecessary, and eventually it was remembered more than it was used. When the deliveries stopped, the houses did not change immediately. The small metal door remained set into brick or siding, often at the same height as before, paint weathered but intact. Inside, the insulated compartment still opened into the kitchen wall. For a time, it was simply empty. The homeowners adapted in small ways. Some stuffed the cavity with insulation to prevent drafts in winter. Others sealed the outer hatch shut with caulk or paint. During kitchen renovations in the 1970s and 1980s, many chutes were removed entirely, replaced with drywall, cabinetry, or modern insulation standards. In older neighborhoods today, you can still spot them if you look carefully. A rectangular outline interrupting the brick pattern, a metal flap that no longer opens. Inside, in the recessed box, may now hold cleaning supplies, canned goods, or nothing at all. The chute remains as a quiet architectural artifact, evidence of a service economy once considered permanent, now reduced to a sealed opening in the wall. What changed was not dramatic, it was procedural. Instead of hearing bottles settle into the wall before sunrise, you added milk to a shopping list. Instead of retrieving cold glass from a compartment beside the kitchen cabinet, you opened the refrigerator and found a carton purchased days earlier. The exchange moved from the side of the house to the checkout counter. The rhythm of the morning shifted. There was no longer a truck idling briefly at the curb. No faint clink of glass being lifted from a crate. No quick glance through the window to see whether the delivery had arrived. The small repeated interaction between household and route driver disappeared without ceremony. Milk became one item among many, folded into a weekly routine rather than a daily arrival. The system was more efficient, more scalable, often less expensive. It required fewer workers and less coordination. It fit the pace of post-war suburban life. When the delivery came every morning, the system was visible. You could see it working. You knew the driver, he knew your family. When something changed, a new baby, a vacation, an illness, the adjustment happened through a note left in the wall. That's gone now. And the milk still arrives, but it comes from a shelf handled by no one you'll ever know. And the wall where the chute used to be is sealed shut and painted over. If this brought something back, I'd appreciate hearing about it in the comments. Did your house have a milk chute? Do you remember the sound of the bottles in the morning or leaving a note for the driver? If you found this worth your time, subscribing helps me know there's interest in these topics. And the milk chute is still there on some houses. Sealed shut, painted over, easy to miss. A small door built for a world that assumed it would always need to be opened.